Myself Kishore, IoT engineer R&D team from Minion Labs. This is our fourth episode of this webinar series on energy efficiency, which will happen like every time on Fridays at 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Presented by Minion Labs, along with its academic partner, IIIC of Christ University. Today's webinar will be recorded and made available on YouTube and also our Minion Labs website. Undocumented copies will be available immediately on your mailbox after today's session. Energy Efficiency Series Episode 4. So now let us take some time and recall what are all the topics that we have covered in previous episode. People who are not attended in the previous one can have a brief now. So that's first topic is electricity meter. So it is a device that measure the amount of electric current or electric energy consumed by that building or the tenant space or any electrical powered equipments. So, and also we have learned some of the importance of electricity meter, like why it should be there in every households and every buildings. And we have learned some of the electricity meters and also working of it. So there are two major categories of electric meter, that is traditional or analog meters and smart or digital meter. So analog meter, it is a mechanical device that encased within a glass housing and consists of a mechanical disc that rotates when the building or house draws the current. Digital smart meters. Digital smart meters have electronic display that make them easier to read or understand the data. So using a radio frequency signal or emitted by the electrical meter, that utility department has direct or real-time reading of the electrical power consumed. So in the analog and digital meter, there are subcategories of meters. That is electromechanical meter, electronic meter, smart meter, prepaid smart meters, postpaid smart meters, dual resistor smart meter, and kilowatt meter. We have also learned some of the standards, that is IS 13779, which is used for energy, common standard for energy meter. So the major parameters of energy meter is kWh and kVAh. So we also learned some of the features of electricity meter like anti-tampering. So how to protect it, what are all the defects, what is the lifespan of the electricity meter, and so on. And coming to the major topic that we have discussed last episode is energy audit. An energy audit is an assessment of the energy which needs to be consumed, and then also efficiency of a building. So some of the key objectives of energy auditing, like ensuring efficiency, saving opportunities, optimization, accessing earning, updating SLDs, and much more. So steps in energy audit, which includes data collection, field work, analysis of energy consumption and savings, generating energy audit report, technical scope of it, and methodologies. And finally, the insights will be provided to the customers so that they can take actions. So we also learned about energy audit and energy management. So some of the basic approaches to enable energy efficiency also. So coming to today's episode, we'll try to understand general aspects of energy management of electricity. Energy management and conservation. Today's world has become a complete energy dependent world in which electricity is one of the prime importance. Electricity has made life very easy, and thus its consumption is increasing day by day. In order to generate the electrical energy in the original form, a lot of natural resources are being used. Traditionally, Traditionally, electricity was generated only from non-renewable energy sources, but now renewable also come into the picture. Although renewable are used to generate electricity, the system and equipment needed to produce the electricity from them is very costly and can't be afforded very easily. Hence, this has led to depletion of the natural resources. Therefore, it is essential to switch to new and better options like smart grid, smart metering, and zero energy buildings that will help to reduce dependencies on reserves of the reduction in energy consumption and improving use of renewable energies. And in order to increase the efficiency of a power system of energy management system is more important and very essential nowadays. It is a comprehensive offering of a system that combines in both energy and process of optimization of energy. So energy management is the process by which a sector or an organization can effectively manage how much energy that produce, how to control, monitor, and conserve as much as energy as possible, and how can we generate energy in our demand according to the demand of the customers. Energy management systems are used by the power systems operators to monitor power grid operating conditions and control grids in a reliable, secure, and economical fashion. An energy management system interfaces with the grid through a supervisory control and data acquisition, that is SCADA SCADA systems. SCADA system transmit thousands of measurements of critical points of the power system in the real time to energy management system and command signals from the energy EMS to the field's devices to take the control actions. An EMS integrates application software such as state estimation, contingency analysis, automatic generation control, and economic dispatch. The application typically operates the grid in a reactive or preventive. That is reactive in terms of load following and preventive in terms of security constraint dispatch. For the past few decades, energy generation has been shifted to alternative energy resources like renewable energy forms such as solar, wind, and biomass. Instead of the conventional fossil fuel sources, apart from the growth in the energy sector, there has been equivalent increase in the business and organization, which has brought tremendous competition in the market in terms of increasing environmental standards and reducing global warming, and also reducing carbon footprint and GHG. Energy management is a process by which the sector or an organization which efficient like if which can be effectively manage how to use and produce the energy. Apart from protection of climate and conservation of resources, another important factor when dealing with the energy conservation is cost savings. The cost should be reduced in a manner such a way that the work process are not affected, and thus profit should be maximum by minimizing cost. There is one of the case study which is conducted by US Energy Information Administration. According to it, in 2011, China and India were the two countries which were least affected by the worldwide recession. In the year 2008, both these nations accounted for 21% of total world energy consumption. By 2035, both countries will account for 31% of world's energy use of both IEO or like in 2011 in reference case. With these rising statistics, it is very essential that we not only reduce energy consumption at the private and public organization, but also at homes to save energy and thus protect our environment and reduce carbon emission and GHG gases. In 2016, India stood fourth worldwide as the largest consumer of energy. It also expected that nearly 315 million more Indians will move to the cities in upcoming 25 years as the economy will grow, and this in turn will lead to rise in energy demand. So in this study, we can see the graph shows of the energy demand over next few decades. That it's almost 10 times more than the present situation. So these are the some of the results of the case study. A large amount of energy and money saved in general by employing energy management and savings in the organizations. That is low cost activities. That is it only saved 5 to 15%. Moderate cost, that is significant effort, 15 to 30%, and long term potential, that is 30 to 50%. These are all the results from saving electricity through energy management. So here we can see huge amounts of savings and paybacks can be achieved through energy management. It can also help companies by not only improving productivity, but also quality that they offer using energy efficiency techniques and better material and manufacturing processes. The grouping of better quality, better products, lesser environmental damage, and lesser cost of energy provides bonus to the companies, and in turn helps sustaining the environment and conserving the resources too. So this is India's energy demand in coming 2 decades. So if we see in 2000, only 441 like million metric tons of uh, total power consumed. But when you come to 2040, over 333% increase we can see. So this will be the next coming 2 decades of energy demand in India. So principles governing energy management. So what are all the principles? There are four main principles which governs the energy management. First, control the cost of energy function and not the BTU of the energy. Since energy always provides a service, it is converted to useful function. It is advisable to control the total cost than the BTU of energy, since the total cost is more closely related to the interests of the organization. So second principle is to control energy functions as a product cost, not as a part of manufacturing or general overhead. The energy function should be part of costing systems so that the specific impact of each function can be better judged. Third principle is to control and meter only the main function, which accounts for only 20% function, which makes up to 80% of the cost. The last and fourth principle states that the major effort of the energy management program should be put into installing controls and achieving results. Each step of the process should be monitored to achieve appropriate results. This is the general block diagram of EMS, energy management system. With the depletion of natural resources, switching to better option like smart grids, smart metering helps in reducing the amount of energy consumed and also further increase the efficiency of these power systems. Energy management systems are employed. So it consists of a series of policies, frameworks, processes, and procedures to manage the energy use. Therefore, EMS helps in maximizing profits by reducing the cost and enhancing the efficiency of the system. According to ISO 50001, released an energy management system standard in 2011 for more efficient use available of energy resources and enhance competitiveness along with reducing GHG emissions. The standard is applicable irrespective of types of energy used. So if you see this block diagram, the policy should be created at the initial. According to the policy or a rule, the energy planning must be bring on. So that planning, which implicates to some operations, so that to be done. After checking that operations, if it's after reviewing that management or any operations, If it's fine, then like say the energy efficiency is already made. If not, take a like continual improvements, create a policy again, plan, and then implement. So that checking should be consists of continuous monitoring and measurement, internal audit of energy management solution. So and then should be very correctness, and then and always give the prevention actions. So energy management systems in India. When it comes to India, the nation's energy intensity per unit GDP is much higher when compared to Asia, USA, or Japan, which indicates that energy is being used inefficiently and also that there is a scope for conservation. A single unit of energy saved avoids 2.5 to 3 times of capacity augmentations. In India, there is huge scope of energy conservation in each sector. It's coming to industrial sector. Approximately there is up to 25% of potential to energy conservation. Transport, it's 20%. Agriculture, 30%. Domestic and commercial uses, it's again 20%. So the whole economy as a whole, up to 23% of energy conservation can be implemented. So taking into consideration the potential of the energy conservation, the government has launched various plans to start the drive of energy management and conservation. The government is not only promoting greater use of renewable energy, such as solar and wind, but also working towards ultra supercritical thermal power plants, which will run on indigenous technology, helping to reduce carbon footprint. Aim to be set up in Chennai. It is expected to be completed by 2024. This plant will generate 800 megawatts of operating temperature of 710 degrees Celsius and 310 bar pressure of steam. Conservation Energy Conservation Act by BW, Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So equal efforts are being put into the demand side through various policies like Energy Conservation Act of 2001. The Bureau of Energy Efficiency, that is BW, set up in 2002, works at the central level to assist the Energy Conservation Act. A large number of initiatives have been taken up by the Ministry of Power in alliances with BW, like conservation of energy in areas like lighting at homes, commercial offices, and buildings, labeling of the appliances, etc. With the standards and labeling program launched in 2006, the Bureau provided customers the right choice to save and conserve energy and save costs too. The main aim is to reduce the amount of energy consumed by the appliances without a compromise in the service. Other programs include Energy Conservation Building Codes, that is ECBC, to set minimum energy standards for commercial complexes with, with a connected load of 10 kilowatt, hundreds of kilowatts. So, demands and management scheme. So one of the scheme that came out in the Energy Conservation Act is demand side management scheme. So DSM scheme was also initiated for the agriculture, mainly for the agriculture initially, municipal, discoms, and also small and medium enterprises, that is SMEs. It is essential to inculcate energy efficiency in agriculture sector because it still remains one of the sector having very high contribution to the GDP. Apart from agriculture, the scheme was also implemented in urban local bodies for sustainable savings in power consumption. Capacity buildings of discoms was another essential aspect of the scheme to carry out effective energy conservation and management. Energy efficiency was also implemented in selected 25 SMEs to access energy use and technology gaps. With the initiation of the 12th plan, hundred projects in 5 SMEs are for the demonstration. The implementation of Energy Conservation Act in states carried out by state designated agencies, that is SDAs, was set up in 32 states, and Ministry of Power financed this institution for strengthening their process of energy conservation. So these are the benefits from the farmer side when the demand side management scheme is implemented. That is, they had less pump failures, farmers awareness workshop on agriculture demand side management to be practiced regularly, free repair and maintenance till project duration, also free cost of energy efficient pump sets. So NMTBLE. So this NMTBLE is an organization that is National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency. So this implemented initiatives, four different initiatives, that is PAT, Triple EP, MTW, FEED. Look into one by one. Yeah. So then the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency is one out of the 8 enlisted missions under the National Action Plan on Climate Change. NJP, that is NJPCC. The main objective is to strengthen energy efficiency for sustainable business models by an appropriate mixture of energy, efficiency, equity, and environment. The four initiatives under NMEE are: first, PAT, perform, achieve, and trade, mainly to increase the effectiveness of the cost in industries. Second, market transportation for energy efficiency, that is MTEE, to accelerate the change to energy efficient appliances. So third, energy efficiency financing platform to assist finance in the demand side management programs. Last, the fourth initiative is framework for energy efficient economic development. So this is to development of fiscal instruments for promotion of energy efficiency. So under MTW, two other programs comes, namely LD, BELJ and Super Efficient Equipment Program, that is SEEP, has also been launched in which over 29 million incandescent bulbs has been replaced by CFLs. Under this program, the efficiency of ceiling fans has been aimed to increase over 50% than the current market average, which average lives over 15 years. BW also intends to prepare material on energy efficiency, which will be included in NCERT textbooks for grade 6 to 10 in order to promote energy efficiency in school as well. In this context, the government is promoting energy efficient use for homes, encouraging to use LEDs. The scheme was the schema. This scheme was initially called Domestic Efficient Lighting Program and now relaunched as Ujjwal. So let us see some of the implementations, like what are the steps and what are the procedures to implementing EMS in the present power systems in India. Energy energy management system plays an indispensable role in control centers and electrical power systems. All the real-time characteristics of the power systems and quantities and can be monitored on a real-time basis with help of EMS. This section primarily discussed how the integration of EMS in the present days of the power systems. So improved in terms of economic, security, and user interface aspects. Economic aspect. Economic dispatch first. First, one of the methods in economic aspect is economic dispatch. This is scheduling generation to minimize the cost of the process that when the generation is happened to be minimized overall optimizing the cost as historically been called economic dispatch. In this calculation, the generation cost as are represented in the computer systems as a curves, usually piecewise linear, and also overall calculation minimize the operating cost by finding a point where the total output of generators equal to the total power that must be delivered, where the incremental cost of the power generation is equal to all the generators. Traditional economic dispatch calculation take amount of the network losses through the use of incremental loss factors. So these are the state of art method of accomplishment of this in a long term called optimal power flow, that is OPF, which minimize the generation cost while taking account of entire transmission system and all its constraints. Second, automatic generation control, AGC. The basic control the basic control of generation on a power system is done through the control of electrical frequency measured at one of the highest voltage buses in the system. If the frequency drops below nominal, there is a need to increase in generation, and if the frequency rises above nominal, there is a need for less generation. The control of generation is done as a supplementary control to basic governor controls on the generators themselves that works to maintain system frequency by raising and lowering the energy into the prime mover of the generator. This supplementary control is known as automatic generation control or AGC. The last and final of economic aspect is open access transmission. Open transmission systems operate on the idea that all the power plants should be managed separately. And in fact, they may be owned by other companies. They do not own any transmission or distribution equipment. The idea is to have transmission system provided by transmission services to generators, which turn directly sell the power distribution companies and or large loads. In such system, the EMS do not have to have the cost the data normally associated with the economic dispatch. Rather, it receives bids from the generators to the power supply companies or to the loads. It selects the last bidders as though who will supply energy. It's basically option based. So second aspect is the operator interface and intelligent applications. Under that, knowledge-based expert systems. Knowledge-based systems involve the use of expert system software, which allows encoding of the knowledge about a power system into the computer and manipulation for solving special problems. The knowledge is encoded in the form of production rules, which allow the expert system interface engine. As such, an expert system allows one to set up the solution of a problem that otherwise would be the impossible to formulate as a mathematical algorithm. So those are all the most of the applications in the MS. Expert system are also very powerful at solving diagnostic reasoning problems. Therefore, many EMS system include expert system to diagnostic faults on the power system using status, switch status, and relay target information. This process is made even more powerful when a model of the power system is built from the SCADA system database, because this SCADA system contains all the diagnostic faulty ideas inbuilt already. So neural network application. Neural network are artificial intelligence tool that attempts to program of a computer to act as it contains neurons similar to those found in a human nervous system. In an In an artificial neural network application, the neurons are simulated by a software together, which means of the representing the network with the patterns that have already been learned, and means instructing the network to do as such. So to follow the patterns basically. The neural network can theoretically be taught anything, however, computers cannot store and process nearly as many neural networks nodes as a human nervous system and brain. So they are far less intelligence. So nonetheless, the neural network research has begun to show great promises in those aspects of power system operations where the patterns must be recognized. So the third main aspect of EMS implementation is power system security. So in that increased security. Sorry. The modern EMS combines supervisory control and data acquisition, that is SCADA capabilities, along with the generation dispatch, scheduling and control capabilities. So modern EMS now has ingredients necessary to provide operators with advanced security analysis capabilities. This feature is to consider absolutely necessary in operating a power system, as it allows operation personally to make most efficient use of transmission system by loading it up to its limit without placing it any insecure state. So second, monitoring, that is alarming process and state estimation. Monitoring in the power system takes place in two ways. The basic process of taking measurements in substations, transmitting the values to the central computer and comparing those values to stored limit is known as alarming process. It's basically gather all the measurements and the information from the substation, and then it'll transmit to a central computer where it will compare to already previously load or stored data and give the alarming process. So EMS also monitor the status of various binary devices, and together these indicators make up 10,000s of points that must be monitored and displayed to the operators. The main purpose of these knowledge based alarms is that they can filter out but the most important alarms then the present summary alarms, so it operate can reduce the situation quickly. So the automated alarms will show results very quickly. In case of transmission system, a real-time mathematical model of the power system can be built using a power flow model and state estimation algorithm, which can read many redundant measurements and calculate statistically, which can read more measurements and show the output more precision. So this is known as state estimation. The state estimator has the ability given the right set of measurement to detect and identify measurements that are very bad. The bad measurements are removed or filtered out and reported to the operator so that they can be recalibrated. So it reduces loss like very a lot of human effort basically. Statistic security assessment. Once a estimate is complete, the operators have a model of power system as it presently exists. So it's like a well-trained model with all the good measurements. The next effort is to test that model for a large number of outages in order to determine if the system can recover from the outages without any problems. So this is basically a testing program. The outage events and contingencies can be modeled using a power flow program by running the contagious at once at a time. So next is security constrained optimal power flow. An OPF can accommodate a constraint that will guarantee the contagious overload is eliminated. So after testing like more and more with more outages, it'll show the elimination of the more outages and overloads. Thus it has led to elaborate program that includes that includes the perfect analysis wherein all contagious are tested properly and all the overloads are converted to constant and placed into a OPF. After solution, it must be iterated through a contingent analysis, that is continuous analysis again and again, to ensure that it should found all bad cases, so that it can be re-rectified again. It's something like unsupervised learning. So the SCADA system know its own fault. It will revise again. It will recalibrate again, and the loop runs. The end result is to dispatch, which guarantees that all contagious tested are not going to result in trouble. So security analysis and open transmission access. When the transmission system is to be operated as an open system, there is a different problem in maintaining system security. So firstly, there is need to allow independent generating facilities to obtain access of transmission system in a safe manner. So without going into a third person, like it should be more secure. The transmission of maintaining system should be more secure. So the security analysis should be taken very frequently. So this is they must contact the transmission system operator and reserve the transmission capacity for the transaction. So the reservation process will necessitate the testing of the system for system security while the modeling the process of transaction. So we'll see what are all the energy statistics of India in of India. So in different sectors again. So state sector based average energy consumption in India. Private sector is using more than state and central government. So if you see in this table, this is the uh, study which made in recent years. State sectors which consume more than a lakh megawatt, and central sectors like railway industry, etc., which consume 76,000 megawatt. Private sectors is one of the highest sector which consumes like where the more energy consumption is happening. That is 1.25 lakhs. That is overall 41 to 42% of overall energy consumption only private sector is consumed. So renewable energy usage based on average energy consumption in India. So how much renewable energy used for the energy consumption? So in this total thermal is the highest. That is 2.1 lakh megawatts, almost 69%. So this includes again solar and etc. So coal is the second highest. Gas, oil, hydropower, nuclear, RES, and remaining. So totally in the renewable sectors, the thermal sector is the highest energy usage, energy consumed. So policy initiatives and decision taking. So Electricity Act that came in 2003, which is one of the milestone in Indian power sectors. Electricity Act 2003 has been enacted and came into force from 15th 6 2003. The objective is to introduce competition, protect consumers' interest, and provide power for all. The Act provides for national electricity policy, rural mandatory, license-free generation and distribution, power trading, mandatory metering, and penalties in terms of theft or any of like disaggregation of electricity. It is a comprehensive legislation replacing Electricity Act 1910, which was very old, or century ago. So the Electricity Act 2003 has been amended on two occasions by Electricity Amendment Act and the Electricity Amendment Act 2007 again. The aim is to push the sector onto a trajectory of sound commercial growth and to enable the states and the central to move in harmony and coordination. Electricity generation performance. The electricity generation target for the year 2016 to 2017 has been fixed as 1178 billion units. That is growth around 6.38 over actual generation of 1107 BU for the year 2015-16. The generation during 15-16 was 1000 approximately 1100 billion units as compared to 1048 billion units generated during April and March only, representing a growth of about 5.64. That's linearly, like it's rapidly, like it's logarithmically increasing, like can say. It's if you see this table, you can see. So the electricity generation growth is increased from 6.6, that is 2009 and 10, to 9.7 in 2016-17. Now it's 11.2. It's almost 5 to 6% increase in over a decade. The electricity generation target for year 2016-17 was fixed at 1178 BU, compressing 99900 BU thermal, 134000 BU of hydro, 40,000 nuclear BU of nuclear, and 5,000 BU that imported from Bhutan. This is one of the important parameter, that is smart energy management systems. Important topic. Smart grid is a system to add monitoring, management, control, and communication capabilities to the national electrical delivery infrastructure to move electricity around the system as efficiently and economically as possible. Integrating renewable energy sources into the smart grid system enables in the reduction of cost and resources required for building extra generators, improved for power qualities, reliability, and achieve customer satisfaction. Such systems, such systems are known as smart energy management systems. The various technologies are used in these systems. First and foremost is advanced metering infrastructure. So this is a vision for two-way meter or utility communications. Second is distribution management system, that is DMS. DMS software mathematically models the electrical distribution network and predicts the impact of outages, transmission generation, voltage and frequency variation, and more. It helps to reduce capital investment by showing how can we better utilize existing assets by enabling peak shaving via demand response, by improving network reliability. Geographic information systems. GIS technology is specifically designed for utility industry to model, design, and manage their critical infrastructure by integrating utility data and geographical maps. Outage management systems. Outage management systems speed resolution, so power is restored more rapidly and outage costs are constant. They eliminate the cost of manual reporting. It's totally automized analysis historical outage data to identify improvements and avoid future outages based on the previous analysis. So intelligent electronic devices, IEDs, are advanced application-enabled devices installed at the field that process, compute, and transmit information to higher level. So these can collect data from both network and consumers facilities and allow network reconfiguration either locally or commanded from the control center. Wide area measurement systems, WAMs, provide accurate and synchronized measurements from across large-scale power grids. WAMs consist of phase measurements units, that is PMUs, that provides precise timestamp data together with the phasor data concentrators that aggregate the data and perform event recording lively. So what are the main barriers on EMS path in India? So first and foremost is project funding, obviously. So one of the major barriers in implementation of EMS projects in India is the lack of capital on the part of utilities and energy efficiency projects. Capital in terms of both money and physical resources needed for implementing EMS projects are very very proper in a proper method. Utilities have to distribute the already captured resources available to various business units within the utility according to the prioritizations. Second is payback period. The payback period for EMS projects stretched into 2 years, into some years because of the large investments involved in them. Third is tax split incentives and planning cycles. So many times there is complete mismatch between utilities planning cycle for the upgradation and state energy policy cycles. Lack of knowledge. The method of capital recovery schemes is in a utility can greatly affect the utility interest in promoting industrial energy efficiency projects. Availability of technology. So lack of energy consumption data and tools to be evaluated in energy data can prove to implement of energy or decrease the implementation of EMS projects. Also, new EMS technologies are costly to implement. Price trends. Volatile energy prices can lead to uncertainty on return from capital investment on new energy efficiency projects, mainly in reduced or small utilities. We'll see some of the advantages of EMS. EMS can be used for economic dispatch of power. It can also play an import. It is EMS can play an important role in power system security as well, like we discussed earlier. EMS can help in preventing such continuances. EMS also strengthens the competitive of the organization and also reduces the vulnerability of the organization against energy price fluctuations and availability of energy, thus establishing a benchmarking process. So EMS also allows organization to gain credible external visibility of energy saving actions. So these are some of the disadvantages of energy management system. EMS has low credibility and trust on information collected. So it says there should be much security to be imposed in it. There is lack of technical support and guidelines on implementation and maintenance side. And the procedures to be associated with for these measures is very long and consume lot of time. Large amount of documentation is required for the proper implementation of EMS. That should be made more smart. So overall, energy management system, that is EMS, is one of the upcoming technologies which has potential of changing the energy scenario of the world and India. The technology works by collection of real-time information of electrical parameters and the building intelligence systems, which uses this data to build systems which predict the continuous in advance. Also, EMS helps in effective scheduling and generation of the power at the lowest operational cost and in highest efficiency. Currently, there are some barriers into implementation in EMS for the industries. However, with improvement in technologies, these barriers can be overcome and successful implementation of EMS is possible. So this has resulted in implementation of EMS on a national wide basis. So that is conserve reducing the cost and then conserving more energy. And it's time for Q&A now. If you people have anything to ask, you can go ahead and ask. Okay, seems no one has any queries or something. Okay, thanks for joining and being here for today's episode. I think I've tried to explain all the concepts about EMS and its solutions, case study, and results on it. So in the next session, that is next week, Friday 12th, same timings, we'll discuss and deep dive into some of the IoT applications of energy management and electricity. So this will be one of the interesting topic where the energy consumption and conservation enabled IoT. Thank you.